Hello, everyone. Are you aware the magnitude of the eating problems faced by babies? Yes, there are many more babies who are alive today than suffering from feeding problems. I became a personal chef for those reasons. And my interest in understanding these feeding difficulties was triggered by my own experiences in life. To satisfy my own gut instincts, I have understood how things change over time with regards to eating, swallowing, and other behaviors. Yes, eating is a process. We take it for granted, from the farm to the table, from the table to how babies eat, how we all connect during that time. It builds in social interactions, emotional connections. And furthermore, it connects the gut, the brain, body, and the mind. All these are very highly valuable in the long term. Every pregnant mom has good aspirations about the fetus. Here is a beautiful 24-week fetus whose major job is to suck on the thumb and swallow the amniotic fluid. Unfortunately, if a preterm labor happens, everything changes abruptly. The life's priorities change. The swallowing behaviors change. Survival becomes most important at that time. Regardless, the mom's instincts remain the same. Mom expects the baby to go home with normal feeding behaviors. She invests a lot of time with patience, perseverance, parental love, and of course with a good program. Babies can go home orally fed. But this is not always the case. There are babies suffering with eating difficulties, swallowing problems, life-threatening events. And they require prolonged tube feeding and prolonged ICU stay. And when it is time for the babies to go home, how do we send these babies home? Well, the tube feeding becomes an obvious choice at this time, like a Band-Aid. There's much more higher value in developing personalized feeding strategies and achieving these babies to independent oral feeds than prescribing a Band-Aid approach over here. So my interest in understanding these problems began when I was a house officer over 30 years ago in Dublin, Ireland. When I was seeing these kids come to the clinics with the same problems again and again, it was very difficult to withstand those events at that time. There was no hope for cure. So I pursued the research in this field. While I was uncovering the mysteries behind why babies don't eat, this burning problem escalated. As you see, over 500,000 new cases per year are added to the 13 million patients with eating difficulties. National gastrostomy rates doubled, and 2/3 get surgical fundoplication. By the way, fundoplication means tightening of the junction between the stomach and the esophagus. And gastrostomy is not without problems. About 10% have major complications, and about 50% have minor nagging problems. The cost paid by these families is enormous, almost equivalent to that of a college tuition, even before the child has an opportunity to go to kindergarten. Many moms shared with me how difficult it is to eat in front of their children who have chronic feeding tubes. It's very concerning. Here, baby Elaine's mom reflects on this. G-tube is more of a bad thing than a good thing. He's dependent on it. Oral feeding is inconsistent. I wish G-tube was not done. How do we handle these problems? Why my baby? Why G-tube in my baby? This is a common question asked when it is time for us to send the baby home with G-tube considerations. There are few answers, and the answers are very complex, and it's not that easy. Then enter multiple providers who have varying experience Some of them may have taken care of the baby for the first time on that day. And, of course, please don't forget Dr. Internet. There's so much information out there. And that adds more chaos, more confusion, and much more conflicts among the providers and the parents and so on. I decided to tackle the root cause of the problem. In order to understand this, we need to understand the rhythms. Life is a rhythm. Human body has multiple rhythms. We developed the methods to understand these biological rhythms of breathing, sucking, heart rate rhythms, and swallowing rhythms. And how all these connect with each other is very important. And we understood the relationships between the gut and the airway, gut and the brain, gut and the heart. And finally, we connected all of these together. Human body functions integratedly as opposed to one organ and another organ functions separately. Connecting all these things made sense to us, and we connected the dots between the gut, the brain, the heart, and the mind, and understood the reasons why some babies eat, some babies don't eat. We understood the reasons for changes during normal maturation in human premature babies, and how these changes are impacted in disease, how these changes are altered in the event of any life-threatening events. I will now share with you the story of baby K. This was 2005. She was full-term born with a lethal congenital heart defect. The only chance for survival for this baby was a heart transplant. And she was in the ICU for a prolonged period of time. She got the heart transplant. She survived, but remained in the ICU for long term. She was very difficult to manage clinically with regards to feeding. G-tube, tracheostomy or a breathing tube, and the fundoplication were recommended for this baby, but the parents were reluctant for these procedures. After going through all these things, they were scared, although the mom expected oral feeds at discharge. And we were involved. We tried to connect what happened between the gut, the brain, and the heart. And then we found out that there were problems. And then we tried to educate the team, but few would listen to us because that was one of the first events when the discovery was made, and we were trying to translate the discoveries into actual practice. You can imagine it takes about 17 years for discoveries to be translated to clinical care. By the way, I've been here 17 years. And we have educated the mother, empowered the mother, trained the team. We paid attention to detail with regards to the type of the feeds, the method of the feeds, the nutrients, when to feed, how to feed, recognize the cues, good cues and bad cues, and then came up with a program. I will now share the story of baby Paul. Unlike baby K, Paul was born prematurely and had severe feeding intolerance, eating difficulties, and severe life-threatening events. This infant was breastfed, but breastfeeding was completely stopped, and he was needing tube feeds. And when it's time to go home, they recommended gastrostomy and fundoplication again for this baby. This mom asked the same questions. Why? Why my baby? Why G-tube? Again, we tried to connect in this baby between the brain, the airway, and the gut, and understood the problems, what the baby can do or cannot do, and empowered the mother and showed her the signals and provided her the biofeedback. And we also understood the process problems. There are problems within the process among the NICU providers and how they all connected to each other. However, when these process issues are there and the recommendations made are based on the belief systems of this process and how all this ties up amplifies the problem. Yes, infant and feeding process systems have very complex dynamics. So in tackling the feeding problems, not only should we tackle the infant, but also we tackle the process as well. Now, here is a cute little kid who's multi-talented, as you see, and 1 year old. Guess who this is? This is the same baby K who got the heart transplant. You may be wondering. She's now 13 years old, and soon we'll be looking for colleges. This is my friend Paul, who is a toddler, who is doing great. And mom, incidentally, breastfed this baby for a very long period of time. Another story, baby Trevor. Mom writes to me, as you can see, he doesn't have a problem eating. Here is Elena, before and now. Well, you may think that sharing stories with you may be anecdotal, but I'll share with you the story of a 100 baby case. Yes, these are 100 babies. So those babies that come for gastrostomy considerations, historically, 90% get gastrostomy tubes. But if they come to our program, over 51% get home on oral feeds. And this is a fact. Not only that, at their first birthday, almost 75%, almost three-quarters of them have a chance to eat their birthday cake. Well, as I said, the gut, when you satisfy the gut and take care of the fire in the stomach, it helps the development of the brain, mind, and body. I'll now share with you how that happened by showing you the story of 200 baby Pauls. Those babies that came to our program, we followed them, and around 2 years of age, they had less motor delay, meaning better body development. They had less cognitive delay, meaning superior mind development. They had less communication delay, meaning superior intellect. Therefore, satisfying the gut instincts will help the body, mind, and intellect, as shown by this evidence. My vision is realized in that innovative strategies developed earlier on, implemented, will result in better growth, body, mind, intellect development. But the mission remains unaccomplished because there is a lot more to be done. It needs to be spread. Only then we will be able to overcome the surge of these gastrostomy tubes across the country. Eating safely must be a fundamental right for babies. The future can be better by understanding and developing methods that affect within the baby, around the baby, and also the process as a whole. Won't you support my mission? Thank you.